it sounds crazy, but I wanted to change the world in a beneficial way. But I realized that people were so ill generally, just maybe just under the weather, but people didn't appear to have the energy to change the world, quite honestly. So I thought, right, well, I've had my own experience. I'm going to teach other people how to get their energy back, how to get their health back. And then somebody said, you should start giving talks. And that was my worst nightmare. I was the one at the school at the back, hiding behind the desk, because I hated talking in public. And suddenly I found I was quite good at it. So I started giving talks around the place, and that's what I enjoy doing a lot now. Because the more I've learned, the simpler it is. Pretty much everybody with fibromyalgia has probably got a deficiency of just one or two very basic minerals, selenium and magnesium. Probably a case in point. People with heart issues, arrhythmia, people with constipation, people with backache, people with joint pains like arthritis, people who have restless leg at night, muscle cramps, twitches, spasms like menstrual cramps. If I didn't mention before, constipation, anxiety, depression. All those are symptoms of magnesium deficiency. You don't have to have the lot. You only need to have one. You're hiccuping. Well, that's a spasm, spasmodic contraction of the diaphragm, and magnesium can fix it, can hopefully remedy all those things and bring you back to health in a day often. I mean, not the arthritis is going to take longer, but people who are having arrhythmia, usually, bam, it's stopped that day. People who are depressed. I've had people who are suicidal, 24 hours later, not suicidal anymore because they took 12 magnesium capsules of the right type each day. And by the end of the second day, they phoned me up to tell me they weren't suicidal anymore. Now, I'm not giving medical advice because I don't do medicine. I'm giving health suggestions. And if I mention words like cure or cancer or anything like that, for legal reasons, I'm spelling them with a K.
We live in a crazy world, don't we, that it's dangerous to talk as members of the public about things that could help people who are suffering many different conditions. So this is a fantastic, it's a great discussion already, and there's lots of directions we could go into. But I think it's worth pushing to our audience the fact that Clive is here speaking to us today, and the reality is he has to be careful. We have to be careful about what we say, because if we say the wrong things, one, we could lose this interview, but two, we could come under all sorts of other pressures. So we live in this amazing society where I would agree with you. If you go to a GP, what is that GP now trained in? To use a computer to identify the drug which the local pharmaceutical rep has suggested that he should give for any particular ailment. And of course, we know if we take pharmaceutical products that the first thing we should check, having taken the doctor's advice, of course, we should check the leaflet that comes with those pharmaceutical products to see what the side effects are and whether indeed they're suitable for us. But the print that is printed in is always very, very small indeed. So, yeah, what a world, Clive. If we sit here and try and talk about things which may help people's health and general mood, we could run into trouble.
Of course, the doctors usually get a totally different set of warnings, much more comprehensive. But of course, they don't read them, and generally they're written on a piece of paper which sort of folds out into the size of a poster and in very, very fine print, and they don't have the time, let alone the will, to read them. I feel sorry for doctors because it is dictated to them how they're going to behave. They have to give certain remedies. I went to my GP some years ago and said, look, just out of interest, as you probably know, your predecessors used to give iodine as a remedy, consistently, very often. So often, in fact, that if a patient came to the doctor and they didn't know what to do, they would often give iodine because it would balance out temperature. If you're at a low temperature, that can be unhealthy. So iodine helps balance temperature, just as one example. And I said, well, look, somebody had a thyroid problem. Really, your predecessors would have known that iodine would have been, let's say, the first thing of choice. Could you offer iodine? Let's say you did the research, you discovered, yes, this was a viable remedy. So absolutely not. I couldn't give it even if I wanted to, because the regulations say I have to do ABC in that order. Drug, drug, drug.
I've told this story in several places because it's a story that's personal to me, but it's absolutely true. And this was something that really got me thinking about how the system worked. And that was many, many years ago. I had very bad tennis elbow in my left elbow. And it ended up that I got to the point of having the famous cortisone injection, which was pretty painful, but also it didn't really make much difference. And the GP told me with great